Hi. Thanks for still being here, if you're still here. I just wanted to come today and talk a little bit, mainly to the women. I think it's probably mainly women anyway, because my channel before was mainly women. But just about kind of women's issues, women's insecurities, and the things that we as women tend to go for because we're not really secure in God. So I think for a lot of us that can be it can be a lot of different things, but it's very easy for us to find crutches that make us feel worthy, that make us feel valuable, that make us feel temporarily satisfied. So yeah, I've been thinking about this issue a lot this week because almost every woman I know is insecure in some way. And it can be about her looks, it can be about her intelligence, it can be about her heart, it can be about whatever. But almost everyone I know is insecure, and they're insecure from a place that goes back so far that you don't even really remember it a lot of the time. You know, it's just something that's in you that just makes you feel like there's something wrong with you that can't ever be right, you know. So yeah, I think a lot of times for women too, especially because societally we get so pressured to be beautiful, to be a certain kind of beautiful, and we're so praised for those things or taught to run after them. A lot of times we can value what we look like more than like what's going on in our hearts. And I know that was true for me in the world. I was like obsessed with, I've always loved clothes, I still love clothes, but I was like obsessed with shopping. I was obsessed with like just looking exactly right, exactly the way that I wanted to look. And I think I was trying to sort of make myself into something that was acceptable to myself, you know, make myself into sort of like an idol for myself, almost someone that I could love, you know, someone that made sense to me, that person was valuable. So anyway, I just wanted to read you guys today Ezekiel 16, which talks about what happens when you depend on your beauty, what happens when you depend on what God has given you without honoring God with it. So this is like a hardline chapter. This is one of those like immediate repentance kind of readings. But so this is what God says about, he's using the metaphor of Jerusalem, like the nation Israel, as a woman. So I think it is, though, particular to women, but it's also to us as people who naturally tend to be unfaithful to God, naturally tend to be kind of like what we talked about in the Esau video, tend to be taken with what we can see and feel and touch and kind of forget about the maker of all those things. So Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 1. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, confront Jerusalem with her detestable practices and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says to Jerusalem. Your ancestry and birth were in the land of the Canaanites. Your father was an Amorite and your mother a Hittite. On the day you were born, your cord was not cut, nor were you washed with water to make you clean, nor were you rubbed with salt or wrapped in cloths. No one looked on you with pity or had compassion enough to do any of these things for you. Rather, you were thrown out into the open field, for on the day you were born, you were despised. So just this first part, I feel like we see God saying, like, I know everything about you. Your father was an Amorite, your mother was a Hittite. On the day you were born, this is what happened. So what he says also is that nobody cared for you. You were cast out into a cold, uncaring world, basically, and you were going to die there. So that is our spiritual reality, is that we're born into a world that is at spiritual war, and if we don't find God, then we basically, by default, belong to Satan, who does not care for us. So verse 6. Then I passed by and saw you kicking about in your blood. And as you lay there in your blood, I said to you, live. I made you grow like a plant of the field. You grew and developed and entered puberty. Your breasts had formed and your hair had grown, yet you were stark naked. So here, God is the one who says to this unloved, uncared for child, live, you know, and by the strength of his word, this child lives and grows and develops. Later I passed by, and when I looked at you and saw that you were old enough for love, I spread the corner of my garment over you and covered your naked body. I gave you my solemn oath, and entered into a covenant with you, declares the sovereign Lord, and you became mine. I bathed you with water and washed the blood from you and put ointments on you. I clothed you with an embroidered dress and put sandals of fine leather on you. I dressed you in fine linen and covered you with costly garments. I adorned you with jewelry. I put bracelets on your arms and a necklace around your neck. And I put a ring on your nose, earrings on your ears, and a beautiful crown on your head. So you were adorned with gold and silver. Your clothes were of fine linen and costly fabric and embroidered cloth. Your food was honey, olive oil, and the finest flour. You became very beautiful and rose to be a queen. And your fame spread among the nations on account of your beauty, because the splendor I had given you made your beauty perfect, declares the sovereign Lord. So this is all about how there's this unwanted, uncared for, unloved child who is born sort of recklessly into the world, and God takes this child, makes it grow, and then once she becomes a woman, he decorates her, he makes her beautiful in the way that God gives us our beauty. Our beauty doesn't have anything to do with us, really, it's all from God and for God's purposes. But so all of these things that not only make her look beautiful, but make her feel beautiful, make her feel cared for, the jewelry, the clothing, all these things that are like, sensual, beautiful pleasures are things that come from God, and they're part of the commitment between this woman and God, right? God has married her, basically. He cleaned her up and he married her. He made a commitment to her and gave her all these things to make her beautiful because she was his. And then, so it says, she became very beautiful. And then verse 15. But you trusted in your beauty and used your fame to become a prostitute. You lavished your favors on anyone who passed by, and your beauty became his. You took some of your garments to make gaudy high places where you carried on your prostitution. You went to him, and he possessed your beauty. You also took the fine jewelry I gave you, the jewelry made of my gold and silver, and you made for yourself male idols and engaged in prostitution with them. And you took your embroidered clothes to put on them, and you offered my oil and incense before them. Also the food I provided for you, the flour, olive oil, and honey I gave you to eat, you offered as fragrant incense before them. That is what happened, declares the sovereign Lord. All right, so this is like all the things that God gives us. He gives us our beauty, he gives us our food, he gives us our place of work, like all of these things that he provides for us for our delight and for our sustenance. If we take them and instead of honoring God with them, if we basically just build ourselves up, if we trust in our beauty, and that can be our physical beauty or just the beauty of our lives, if we just trust in what we can see and forget where it came from, then this is who we become. We basically prostitute ourselves to Satan. You went to him and he possessed your beauty. And we prostitute ourselves in this way that where we're trying to like confirm all the time that we are beautiful. So we need more and more people to tell us that we're beautiful. We need more and more people to tell us that we're awesome, because we've forsaken like our one true husband, and we're just going around being like, oh, you like me too? You like me too? Oh, okay. All right. And I think everybody kind of knows that feeling, and that's like spiritually what God is saying to us is like, if you're not with me, then what you're doing is prostituting yourself to these idols that will never love you, never satisfy you. So here's what happens next. Verse 20. And you took your sons and daughters whom you bore to me and sacrificed them as food to the idols. Was your prostitution not enough? You slaughtered my children and sacrificed them to the idols. And all your detestable practices and your prostitution you did not remember the days of your youth, when you were naked and bare, kicking about in your blood. I think this is so fascinating too because, I think everybody has some kind of like awkward stage where you just feel like you're the ugliest thing ever, or something's wrong with you, or you're never going to fit in, it's never going to work out. And then I think most people, you figure out a way to make something you've got work for you, and you kind of self-create this persona or whatever, and you feel like, okay, now I'm acceptable, now I'm good, now I can be loved because I figured out a way to stop being this like awkward, horrible person that I hate and wish would die, So God is saying, like, if you don't remember the days of your youth when basically you needed God, like when you needed someone who loved you regardless, when you needed your creator, then you're going to end up fooling yourself, by trusting in what God has given you, rather than trusting in the actual source of comfort, trusting in your actual source of goodness. Yeah, there's so much more, but basically this is like, it goes on in this vein. So Ezekiel 16, you should definitely check it out. And it just gets worse and worse, basically. So this woman just gets like more and more depraved, basically. And that is, that's a good check. If you have anything in your life that you feel like you need so much or you want so much, it's a good check for you if there's anything that you want more than God to kind of come back to God, because all of those things, they only get worse and worse. They only grow and grow. The more that you allow anything to be in front of God, the more that you want it and desire it and go after it and are not satisfied by it. What happens to this woman basically is, so verse 30, it says, I am filled with fury against you, declares the sovereign Lord, when you do all these things, acting like a brazen prostitute. When you built your mounds at every street corner and made your lofty shrines in every public square, you were unlike a prostitute because you scorned payment. You adulterous wife, you prefer strangers to your own husband. All prostitutes receive gifts, but you give gifts to all your lovers, bribing them to come to you from everywhere for your illicit favors. So in your prostitution, you are the opposite of others. No one runs after you for your favors. You are the very opposite, for you give payment and none is given to you. So, yeah, in this way, we can just give our lives to things that actually are temporary, are passing, that are not going to offer us love, security, like any of those things. And it enrages God, basically. So that's good for us to know. And what happens to this woman, too, is the very thing she loves, verse 39, says, then I will deliver you into the hands of your lovers, and they will tear down your mounds and destroy your lofty shrines. They will strip you of your clothes and take your fine jewelry and leave you stark naked. They will bring a mob against you who will stone you and hack you to pieces with their swords. They will burn down your houses and inflict punishment on you in the sight of many women. I will put a stop to your prostitution, and you will no longer pay your lovers. Then my wrath against you will subside, and my jealous anger will turn away from you. I will be calm and no longer angry. So that's intense. But it also says that these very things that you're going after, these very things that you want so much, are the things that are going to turn on you and destroy you, basically. So yeah, I just want to encourage you today to think about like the things in your life or the places in your life, the people in your life that you draw security from that are not God. I did this exercise kind of earlier in the week, and I came up, and the list is going to be embarrassing, basically, but it's just like all these little things, like, what people think about you, like what, like how much of this you have, how much of that you have. So think about like what those things are for you. And it really helps to like list them out and just kind of see what's in your heart about that. And then make the decision to just seek God wholeheartedly, regardless of these things, but to just look for that security in God, because that truly is the only place where it is. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope this is helpful. Please feel free to leave a comment or get in touch with me. My email address is Samira, samira.franklin, franklin, @gmail.com. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.